Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Quarterback School. I am JT O'Sullivan. Today, X's and O's, one I've been waiting for a long time to do. Haas, Y-Juke, lock in, fired up. Let's get it going. Welcome to the QB School. So before we dive into the video, quick reminder about the Quarterback School Patreon community. That group is the foundation, the bedrock of the channel. Not only is it a great, cheap way to support the channel, but you get even more Quarterback School content. So if you dig content like this, you'll love the details, nuance that goes into playing the quarterback position and offensive football at a high level. You'll love the Quarterback School Patreon community. Hop over there, join. The link is in the video description. As for this video, Haas, Y-Juke. All right, we're going to dive right into it. Couple quick disclaimers. There's a lot of information out there on this concept or this play. Obviously we'll go down in kind of the lore of the Patriots, rightfully so, for the Super Bowl versus the Rams, where they ran it damn near 3 plays in a row, in tempo, empty. It's an awesome play. Now, the reason it's awesome depends on where you're at, I guess, or how it's run or how it's taught. I think that's where kind of the real details and nuance go into this play. So depending on what system you're at, you know, they probably call it something different than Haas-Juke. But once you learn the bones, the pillars of this play, you could play this play or teach this play or call this play in damn near any system. So for me here, it's really important to understand where the play came from. And again, there's a lot of good information about it. I'll mention it in the video. I'll link videos in this video so you can go back and kind of hear it from the original source or original sources, and then kind of how it's evolved for other systems. And then finally, how I think it's best served or best thought of, so you can take it and better understand it. What's the intent of the play? Why are we calling it? Now, why we're calling it might be different if I'm not calling it for you, if you're at somewhere else. So understanding the intent of why we're trying to call it, I think is really important. But man, it's an awesome play. It's been everywhere for a long time. Fired up to share it with you. Let's get into it. Haas-Juke. All right, to get this thing started, Haas, Y-Juke, or Haas-Juke, we're going to start at where I think this play started. The New England Patriots back in the day, old playbook here, they did it by number of eligibles, concept side. That makes sense. So think flanks, sides of the field, 2-man concept. We're going to start with Haas and how they put this thing together. So into that New England playbook here, they had their routes, combinations named. Okay, so Haas, hitch, very complicated, right? Hitch and seam. So the number 1 receiver, again, numbering eligibles outside in. So this would be the 1, this would be the 2, and the ball would be over here. Okay. So we're going to run a hitch, then we're going to run a seam. Their coaching points, CP, seam, curl versus Tampa. It's pretty nice that they allowed them to do that. So if you get Tampa here, they expect you to curl. I don't know if that means curl or middle field open. I assume it would just be middle field open. Verse, probably press or tough, however you want to say it. This is going to convert. Okay, these are important coaching points. These are, you can see here, none of these are like drawn lines in a playbook, good versus everything. Like it's always a hitch or it's always a seam. There's all sorts of coverage identification tethered to the eligibles here. So is it open? Is it closed? Is it press? You got conversion routes out here. You got landmarks as far as hitting the numbers. So all sorts of nuance and detail, even in what looks like a pretty bare minimum description, right? So that's what Haas means. Again, one more time for the people in the back. Hitch and seam. Hitch, seam. Number 1, number 2. All right, so now we know, feel pretty good about generally what Haas refers to. All right, next we're going to talk about the juke route. Okay, now this is an important point here before we even dive into this. We're talking about Haas, Y-Juke, or Haas-Juke. To me, that is a New England-centric play that has grown and evolved to damn near every system. Okay, so this juke route is not the same at all places. So we're going to go through this with some detail here, but I don't want to necessarily make this PowerPoint karaoke either. All right, but we're going to start with inside release. At 4 yards, sit if you're uncovered. So inside release, sit down at 4 yards. If there is man coverage or someone is matched to you, matched, Okay, that's important. Man, work the defender covering you and beat him inside or outside off his technique. So you can go in short either way, this way or this way. Now, again, the real coaching point here is don't show the quarterback your eyes. So what you don't want to do is run up here to 4 yards, turn around, and look at the quarterback. If you do that, that means you're staying there. You got to go up, stop, keep your eyes down, and then burst away. And again, there are different teams teach different techniques here as far as crossing technique, running away from technique, different rules. We'll talk about how I specifically used to teach an iteration of this at the high school level in a little bit. Talks about how to run it out a bunch. This is an important point here. Built-in hot. Okay, again, to me, playing quarterback, teaching offense, calling offense, the hots really matter. Built-in hot to me is a question mark. Okay, I would not feel comfortable throwing a juke hot. Now maybe that just means he comes up and sits here versus zone. But what do we do versus man hot? You're going to wait for this double move? No, thank you, coach. Okay, so questions here. And again, it's okay to question playbooks. It's okay to question playbooks from the New England Patriots. Okay, built-in hot, I want more information. The other part here that's a nice coaching point is do not jerk error. Okay, so if you come up here, sit, and then move away, you have to make sure someone is matching to you. Someone's coming down on you. Someone is covering you to be able to jerk. Otherwise, if there's just space, so if there's no defender, so if the linebacker type, nickel, whatever you want to call it here, if they're getting depth and there's nobody there, just go turn around and sit. Do not jerk air. Okay? And again, the other point here, and I'll talk about different clinics that are available. You know, who runs this juke? Oftentimes you'll hear it referred to as your smartest football player because they do have to make a number of decisions. Best player, smartest football player, high football IQ. You know, that's a lot of coaching points for 4 yards. But it can be a really efficient and effective play. Now, before I get too far into this, it's worth pointing out that if you just type in Haas Y-Juke into YouTube or into Google probably, you'll see a number of clinics available by people who probably invented this. This is Billy O'Brien, your boy Bob. Now, the beautiful thing about this clinics, and again, I think I got this from my guy, Brett Colliman. Excellent channel. Get over there. The interesting thing for me hearing clinics, I enjoy clinics as much as anybody, I guess, sometimes. But these guys, and this is no knock on him, this is me referring to all coaches essentially. Very few coaches, in my opinion, have the capacity to teach it outside of their lens. So, and why would you want to? You're going to the clinic to hear how they do it. So this is how New England does it or did it back in the day. So it's great to go to the source, right? Like, let's hear exactly what he says. Now, one of the many coaching points that he has in this thing is about tempo. So you're welcome. We'll just go screen grab the sucker for you and put the link up in the corner so you can watch the whole thing as well. But using this play, Haas Juke, in tempo situations is one of those kind of tricks of the trade. So not only is it a really cool, explosive, efficient, effective play, etc., all the E's you can think of, you can use it in tempo and it gives the quarterbacks lots of answers, potentially too many answers. Now, not if you got this guy, but we're going to walk through exactly what that means and how you're able to do that because really it's a half field concept, right? We know what the number 1 has. We know what the number 2 has. And now the number 3 has that juke route. Now you can get there a whole bunch of different ways, but in short, you can play this play really quickly. So being able to use it in tempo is one of the big bonuses with Haas Juke. Now another clinic that's available on Haas Y-Juke is from my guy, Coach Tim Plow, former Davis quarterback, was the OC when he did this clinic. Now is the head coach at Davis. Smart, sharp, good dude. They actually call it Patriot. Okay, you're welcome for that, going real deep. They read it a little bit different. I will link the clinic in one of the corners. You're welcome. Get over there, check it out. It's good to hear multiple voices describe how they play it. Yeah, I think the thing that was most interesting listening to how Coach Plow talks about it, he talks a lot about the skip release. Okay. Then he reads it what I would consider a little bit different. Again, I don't even remember. I know he talks about it in the clinic about what these things mean. I'm guessing protection, half field read. Who knows what the hell that means? They read it seam to juke. Man, I would imagine those red guys are hots out here. So to me, that's a little bit different than we'll see from a lot of other teams on how they read this thing. Not a lot, not significantly different, different enough. He also talks a lot about quads, which I love. Okay, so get over there and watch that clinic to get another way to do it. But you can see here the commonalities between where they got it, where everybody stole it from, the Patriots, right? I think everybody thinks back to the Super Bowl when they ran it almost 3 plays in a row, maybe 3 plays in a row, 3 plays in a drive to get down and score in the fourth quarter. I'll link the video to that somewhere in this as well, maybe at the end on a thumb. But this idea being that, again, hitch, seam, they call it a bender, and a juke. Now, the thing here to pay attention to is not all jukes are the same, right? You can already see if you're a detail cat, skip release. This time he's going up to 6 yards straight up and turning down. Also running away. I think in the clinic, Tim actually talks about this being hot as well, running out, which I would have questions about if I was playing quarterback for him. But again, I got a lot of questions. Regardless, it's great to hear other people talk about how they play the play. So bender to juke. Okay. However, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. Well, that's not true. I think that there is a spectrum of right, and I'm fine with this. This gives the quarterback clear, defined rules. You probably alert these hitches versus off coverage. We haven't talked about the drop yet, but you'd probably have to play this with different footwork as far as getting the ball out quick to a hitch or a hot versus ripping a seam to a juke. Okay, so just being able to kind of, that's probably what this means. 3 and slide. 3 and a hitch. Some people don't like saying hitch, footwork-wise. So again, just different ways to cut up the same concept, right? The concept is the same. This is Haas, hitch, seam, juke. You're welcome, okay? Haas, Y-Juke. The next one here is from your boy. Okay, back in the day, coaching high school football, this is how we ran the play. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. If you really care, you can probably come at me online. I actually sell the entire offense as a course. Okay, so if you really wanted it, it's part of the course. I will say that there are little things here that I want to talk through just because I think it's important, especially in these clinic situations, to realize, hey, how do people do it at the highest levels? And then how can we make this work maybe at lower levels? Now, I'm not saying you need to hijack this snitch route that I'll talk about, but to me, it just refined the juke. Okay, so let's go through this. It's Haas, Y-Juke. So here's the hitch, right? Versus off coverage, we run in a hitch. Versus tough coverage, so in our language, tough men, press, cloud, anything where the corner is inside 5 yards and not bailing out of there. Okay, so versus tough coverage, we're converting that to a fade, best release fade. Our seams here, versus middle field closed, we're splitting the difference in California high school with the hash and the numbers. Okay, that's our landmark for closed. Quarterback-wise, we're trying to throw that at 20 yards. Boom. Really, the window is 18 to 22 for us. Middle field closed seam. Versus open, we're crossing the face of the near safety. And that's a seam route. Now, real quick before I get into the snitch, we were a half field concept team. So what does that mean? That means that so we called this concept Patriots. You know, the sweet irony is that we were the Patrick Henry Patriots. So the players thought that this was a big time play for us. We didn't run this play a lot for a number of different reasons, but that's what we called it, Patriots. You know, Patriots tethers in everything for us, pass protection and the concept, but it's a half field concept. So if we were to run this out of quads like this, I wouldn't have to say Patriots right, Patriots left. It'd just be Patriots, right? The number 1 has a tough adjust hitch. Okay. If it was 3x2, the number 2 would have a seam. That would not be a good seam for us. We'd be trying to get right to the middle of the field right there. The landmarks don't change. Split the hash and the numbers. Hey, now, I used to try to do all of our concepts out of quads. So the players would learn and we'd be able to get into quads quite a bit. This to me is just a special route. So same as 4 verticals, number 3. So verse closed, we're trying to get to the seam area, 20 yards, split the numbers and the hash. Verse middle field open, we're taking the pipe and we're trying to go right down the middle. So you might think, oh, you got 2 benders versus middle field open. Well, verse quarters, we're not throwing that. Verse 2, I want the pipe. Right now, verse 2, you're really putting 2 on a safety, I should say. So that safety, if it was half field safety up here, and we had a tough adjust hitch, right? You're putting 2 on 1, 1, 2, vice versa, right? 1, 2. So pick the safety you want to work on down to the snitch or the juke. Now this snitch route, I said I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on it, so I'm going to try not to. But I wanted to talk about just the evolution of, I tried to teach juke, like true juke, like New England juke, where there's a lot of, you saw the coaching points. Well, I'm either not that good of a coach or we couldn't handle it at the high school level. So we turned this into a snitch concept. Now, let's make sense of what this is. Snitch is a hitch, okay, versus zone. So if it's off zone, we're running a hitch, straight hitch, not over the ball, not inside release, not any of that, just hitch. Okay, versus man, inside leverage. So take this thing off. Versus inside leverage, like 2-man. We are going to run what we ended up calling this kind of snitch route. And really, it's snitch, not like, hey, snitches get stitches, more like snitch, like Harry Potter, like that thing is going anywhere. So what we're trying to do here is go up, sell this thing like a slant, and come out of it. So once the quarterback saw this slant movement on a snitch route, you knew he was coming out of it. And then if we got middle field closed man with outside leverage, we were just going to come up, lean on him, run that true juke where we get into it and then run away. So it was kind of 3 routes in one, but not what I would consider like the true kind of like Edelman juke route or jerk route. So just a different way to do it. And for us, because you had clear rules, so inside leverage, that's slant out. Outside leverage, up, jerk, in. And we ran true jerk as well. But this snitch route for us was great because not only was it part of our Patriots concept or Haas juke, but we also ran it as the number 3 on shock. So that inside fade here. I just felt like it gave us better answers versus man. Versus shock, if we were in shock and we caught outside leverage with inside fade, I didn't love stick here. I was just like, man, outside leverage stick, not good. Now, if we caught outside leverage shock and we didn't win on the inside fade, now I love this jerk route coming back in versus outside leverage. So just a little, this is what we did. Okay, so you're taking not only what they do at the highest levels, but we did at a pretty high level at the high school capacity to play football and kind of how it worked for us. This was also years of an evolution. So we started with jerk. We ended up moving to like option. And then I wanted to get even more answers. And we did this a lot, snitch, and kind of basically said, hey, you got to earn the right to be the snitch runner. Earn those rules. So again, zone, hitch, everything else is based off leverage. Inside leverage, 2-man, we're getting that slant out. Outside leverage, middle field close, we're running that true jerk where we're up, set it, and come across. So that's that snitch and how we did it at the high school level. Halftime, you dig the channel and you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, get the notifications. I sincerely appreciate you subscribing to the channel. It means a lot to me, so thank you for taking the time and doing that. Again, the Quarterback School Patreon community, you know about it. Join, become a member, get even more Quarterback School content. We also have Quarterback School courses. Now, the courses are very similar to videos like this. A lot of your boy talking, teaching ball at what I think is a nuanced, detailed, high level of football. Specifically, if you like this play, this type of stuff, I offer a number of different courses. I have an entire offense that goes into this level of detail and depth about every play I ran when I was a high school football coach, play caller, offensive architect, Also have a bunch of different courses, RPOs, pass protection, tempos. The best-selling course is how to beat every coverage. So if you're interested in any and all of those courses, check out the link in the video description and enroll. We also have a bunch of free resources available. Check those out also in the video description. Finally, make sure to follow me across social media platforms. I appreciate your support. As for this video, let's get back to it. Now, this next one is from an old Harbaugh playbook. I think he's back in the day with the Niners. The only reason it's in this video is because it has a Haas concept. Now, for those old school West Coast cats who know Sluggo Special here, or Sluggo Seam, I should call it, it's irrelevant for this, but we'll talk about it just because it's this image. Sluggo, slant and go, and on the backside is Haas. Seam, they did a little bit different with that spray seam, which is more inside fadey, and then that Haas route at the back. Now, these Haas hitches change all the time depending on what team you're at, what organization. Some people lock them. Some people have weird in and out rules because now the Haas is the backside. So just because you hear Haas doesn't mean that it's always the same thing. So this idea being that we got to be able to make sense of where are we, what's the system telling us to do, and then everything else about, hey, how are we playing this? So the reason it's on here is just to show that this Haas play is applicable across ball. Right here, it's a backside on a sluggo, on a double move. But now it's probably hitch and seam, some iteration of it. Now, different rules. Again, spray seam, different term. We haven't seen that yet. Different ways to be able to run it, different landmarks. But the bones of it are hitch and seam. And just for fun, going deeper into that Harbaugh old 49ers playbook, they have the play that I would say I'm comfortable calling Haas Y-Juke, but they run it totally different. They call it something totally else, some Bert Venus Z option. So instead of running true, what I would say juke or jerk, they run more option. And a lot of people would call this choice too, over the ball. I think of option as more straight up. But again, you can see here, just kind of squint and look at these images. It sure as hell looks like Haas Y-Juke. Right? We've got seams. We've got sort of hitches. Those are more like stops. Again, they've got adjusted versus cover 2 or cloud. And then we've got that route over the middle. You end up in the same space called something totally else. So once you learn how to play Haas Y-Juke, for you can play it anywhere. You can go to a different team. What do you call it? 2 scat X vert Venus F option. All right. Well, you want word salad? I know in my head it's Haas Y-Juke. Now, again, they play it probably a little different. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. Who knows which seam you're supposed to look at or why? Maybe which one you like pre-snap. They're saying the seams are hot. Okay, coach. It's not for me. Not for me, guy. But whatever. Again, you gotta really go to school on these images. So you almost always want to ask yourself, where are the hots? What's the read? What's the pass pro issues? Now, we haven't talked at all about the pass pro issues, but 5-person pass protection, I'm almost always going to want to slide away from the option or the jerk or the juke. That's just me. Again, I would classify these as good hot options as well. Different strokes, different folks, different systems, different schemes. We're not here to philosophically debate it. I'm just saying, you're playing quarterback. Good luck throwing that hot consistently. But notice again, just the verbiage. Hey, that's it. The play is Haas Juke. Here's another example of Haas as the concept, Haas on the backside. This time, this book called what I would think most people would call shock steer. Okay, whatever. There's that stick that I didn't love versus middle field closed man. Here's that fade, locked hitch. Now, again, you guys think I'm being probably, over the top or too detailed, but you got to pay attention to the types of hitches here. This is a locked hitch. This is a locked hitch. That means there is no conversion versus man. Okay. Why? Well, because they're running theirs as inside fades versus man. I think most teams would call seams only these two. This to me is more inside fadey. Not in this book. Okay, there's no rules, but you have to know that to play quarterback, to call plays, to understand what's going on. Now, again, I'm not sure how much you guys have ever coached people on the perimeter. And when I say coach, I mean played quarterback, coached, called plays, but asking wide receivers, multiple eligibles, to make the determination between 2 high, 1 high, and man. Good luck, homie. Again, the footwork here, not my favorite. I wouldn't want to take one step to throw a bender. Not against the rules. I'm just saying. In addition, you see the hot here is the stick. To me, it makes sense to go hot here, hot here. Another reason why you wouldn't want to lock these when we talk about true Haas Y-Juke is because when you come up here and run this, we'll call it like true juke, like New England Patriots, comes up, comes across like this. If it's man or cloud, I would want that corner to go with the faded adjustment so that he's not standing there to kind of come off and make this tackle. That's just me. Again, just thinking through why these things are what they are. Okay, so just a different way to do and use Haas with different rules. You can see, hey man, it's the same play everywhere. You keep repeating yourself, but it's not. Now we've got weird inside fade adjustments. We've got locked hitches. They're running it with stick. They're throwing seams with one step out of gun. What the hell's going on? Different ways to do it. But the bones are the bones. From that same book, this is true Haas juke. They call it Haas option. Again, whether you call it option, juke, jerk, choice, a lot of it has to do with what the landmarks are as far as where you're trying to get, the depth, the rules that you can have coming out of it. Again, you can see here that Haas is Haas. In this offense, it's a locked hitch with an inside fade adjustment, right? You can see the zone adjustments, 1 high, 2 high, man, inside fade, locked hitch. Again, it sure looks like now, again, I didn't create this playbook, so don't shoot the messenger. But now we're throwing hitches number 1 to the option number 2. Okay, maybe it's a mistake, although they made it twice. So to me here, if I'm going to raise up and throw a hitch or want to throw a hitch first, there's a lot better ways to do it than getting an empty, making a number 2, make a 3-person read, have a double move as the number 2 just to raise up and throw a locked hitch at a max split. Okay, to me, this would be what I would consider poor design, poor intent. It could also just be poor editing, right? And this could easily be supposed to be right here. This could easily supposed to be right here. Okay, so proofreading could be an issue. But again, it's worth pointing out. Lots of nuance here, different. Now the reads are different. We got multiple options for the seams. What the hell are we doing? We got locked hitches. This option route looks different than the juke or the jerk or the snitch or the stick. So there's all sorts of like little differences in how everybody runs this. But it really is, again, the play, the bones of it are hitches, seams, and some sort of like double move option-y route by the number 3. So West Coast world, I think this is from an old Shanahan playbook. They called it smack. So again, solo is the formation, solo right, 2x2, 12 personnel usually, 2 jet, 6-person slide protection, slide weak back to the right. Smack is the concept. You know, I've never heard it called smack. Doesn't mean that it's illegal. All it is that kind of like widen hitch. And it looks like this is like a curl, whatever they call a scout route versus 1 bump. Again, every team is going to have different rules. So smack, whatever the hell that is, turns into that versus bump. You know, if that's supposed to be a stop route, okay, that makes sense to me. You know, I personally, what would you want to run versus cloud? You want to run that? Okay, I don't. But again, if you're a fan of the channel, you've heard me say that some systems lack the evolution and detail in the passing game that others maybe operate within. This would be an example of that. I don't want to run smack, widen hitch versus cloud. They do. Okay, now the part that should start being a little interesting to you is what's the read? This is just smack. This is not even this. So this is just Haas. Smack equals Haas. 1, 1, 1, 1, huh? Okay. Good luck with that. So now we've got the West Coast Shanny interpretation of Haas Y-Juke. Again, Haas is smack to them. They call their juke option. Now again, this is not the exact same route as juke. This looks much more like sit to option, run away from technique. Now again, I didn't put the descriptor in here with all the detail about the routes because I didn't want it to be a karaoke session with me just reading. But you can see here, this doesn't look like the same route that Edelman runs in the Super Bowl. It doesn't look like the freedom. It looks much more controlling West Coasty, where must get here, then run away. And again, if you haven't already started laughing, you should be laughing now. What I'm going to do. What's the read? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Earmuffs me here. Okay, earmuffs me. I'll give you time. Turn down the volume if you're listening in a public space. What the fuck is going on with this? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out. You cannot play quarterback like this. It does not work well. It's very difficult. Okay? How about in this offense? Everybody except the option is hot. Hot, 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 hot. I'm guessing that's what the red means. I mean, shoot, they're yelling hot. They're all caps. They're screaming at us right here. Hot, hot, hot. Okay, so not only does no one know what the read is, you've got a weird adjustment versus one bump. Now, the drop under center, 5-step, I like that for the most part. It'd be tough to throw a 5-step hitch. 6 yards, 5-step. That's going to be tough to throw a hitch. I'm not a math genius, but for me to take 5 steps and for a NFL wide receiver to run 6 yards, he's going to take less than 5 steps. It's going to be hard. That's tough math. But at the end of the day, okay, it doesn't matter. Now, because we're here and we're winding down, let me just talk about how I think this is best read. Okay, so again, we're back to my world, not this world. I always want to know what the intent of the play is. Okay, so let's just say true Haas Y-Juke. So I'm going to draw it like I want to. Here's the juke. Run away, run away. A lot of freedom here. Best player right here. Okay, best player. To me, I like treating these as essentially little mini alerts. So to me, this is a hot alert. This is a alert, hot alert. Or hot. Okay, you could call it just hot. It's a relief throw. We're not doing all this to throw a hitch to the fullback or to the running back. Okay, we're just not. That's not how I want to play offensive football. What we are doing is essentially trying to get our best player in space against a middle linebacker type. Okay, a linebacker type. Okay, a box player. That's what we're trying to do. Now we're adding that double move creativity, best player, with seam opportunities. So explosive opportunities down the field. So based on what coverage, so it's a coverage alert. So based on what coverage, we've got opportunities to throw a seam. Okay, now let's go through the coverages that we're talking about. We'll go through what I think the 4 majors are. Closed zone, closed man, open zone, open man. Okay, so closed zone, country cover 3, pick a seam. Right? Either one. Love it. Seam. Closed man. Maybe seam. Seam question mark. Okay, now, you're carrying a seam here. Not great for me. Now, maybe you gap him at the line of scrimmage and the safety's on the other side hash. Maybe you got a chance. Open zone. Okay, open zone can be 2 things. If it's cover 2, maybe you get a 2-on-1 on the safety. I like it. If it's quarters, seems to me are real tough. They're not impossible. They're real tough. So quarters, I'm thinking juke or option if you play here. Okay, open man, 2-man. I'm thinking maybe seam Seams are pretty good versus two man. If you win at the line of scrimmage, you beat it early. Otherwise, I love the juke versus man. Versus man, I'm loving the juke. That's why we're calling it. Versus zone, I like the idea of a seam. Now, what about brackets? Well, shit. It depends. Regardless, I like the juke. I like the option. There's not an instance where I don't like this play, this route. I don't like this route, but like a true jerk or juke or snitch. Okay, so that's how I would read it. Again, just because it's my video, so I get to say how I would read it, but doesn't mean that it's gospel. Okay, obviously, there's many ways to do it. And just so you didn't think I was cherry picking the read here and blaming it on one system, one guy, one anything like that, this is from another West Coast book. And again, for me, tough to play quarterback when everyone is the number one read. Now, again, obviously, it depends on the coverage in this game, in this system. But multiple hots, multiple number ones, I prefer a more refined approach. And it can be as simple as 1, 2, 3, or it can be a little bit more coverage centric, like how I think about when the seams are alive, when the hots are hitches, all those types of things, what the alerts versus coverage are on the perimeter. But man, playing it like this is tough. And one more here for all my people in the back, as far as they love to just say, hey, quarterback, go out there and read it out. Throw it to the number one read. Okay? There's 20 eligibles on this. They're all the fucking number one read. Get out of here. Get out of here. Give your quarterback some refined rules on how to read it. What's the intent of the play? Okay, what's the intent of Haas Y-Juke? You should know what I'm going to say. And again, I'll just go right over it. Haas Juke. What's the intent of the play? For me, the intent of the play is we love the juke route. Now, if we get a coverage alert that allows us to pop or throw a seam, be explosive, hell yeah. If we're hot, do we have a good hot route? Hell yeah. I love a hitch. Maybe converts versus a fade with a running back out there versus a linebacker. Hell yeah. But this good versus everything. Okay, so the intent of the play, Haas Juke. Could really rename it to Juke Haas, because the intent of the play is the juke for me. So that is a wrap. Haas, Y-Juke, Haas, Juke, however you want to describe it, understand it. Hopefully you have a much better understanding of not only kind of the original play and how it was taught in New England, how other places teach it, think about it, run it, call it, but have a much deeper understanding of just, hey, I know what this play is. It's hitch, seam, juke. It's hitch, seam, option, choice, whatever you want to call it. Some sort of inside wide receiver working one-on-one versus some sort of second level box player, usually a linebacker, Mike linebacker type. And so just understanding that alone, I think gives you a huge kind of big, deep breath to be able to say, hey, I could play this, call this, teach this damn near anywhere and have a lot of confidence with it. Now, the thing that I didn't mention in the images is maybe why you wouldn't want to call this. Okay, so why you would want to call it is it's a great tempo play. It's easy to throw your backs out there to run hitches, locked hitches, tough adjust hitches, whatever, to be the number ones in versus zone defense or match coverage. Have your better eligibles, wide receivers, tight ends, work in those inside defenders. That's why I like it, and obviously love the juke or jerk versus anything, and a linebacker type specifically with all that space in the middle of the field, short, easy throw. Why you wouldn't do it? For me, if you're facing a team that gets after the quarterback, maybe you don't have enough time to throw that jerk or juke consistently, it's not great. I also think it shows a significant amount of trust to call this play for your quarterback, because I made fun of the West Coast world putting everyone as the number one eligible or the number one read. But there are instances where, just because I might call it an alert, another team might say, hey, versus this coverage, it's number one. Versus this, it's number one. And so you can manufacture everybody getting the ball. Now, that's a strength of the play because anybody could get the ball. Hot, hitch, access, hitch, soft zone, the seams are great. Man, the juke or jerk is going to be great as well. Well, that's a lot of making sense of information in quick time at the line of scrimmage, post snap reads. So you got to have a lot of trust in your decision maker. Now, I think that's another reason why you see Tom Brady flourish with this type of play, because he can make sense of all that information in real time, use it in tempo, go really quick, all those types of things that if you're going to kind of green light everybody to potentially get the ball with different coverage reads or access reads for hitches, seams, juke, well, then you've got to really trust your quarterback to be the decision maker. And you've got to trust that you have somebody to run that juke route. Now, again, going from teaching it at the scholastic level, high school level, not everybody on your roster is going to be able to run that type of double move route versus a linebacker type tough coverage, get jacked at the line of scrimmage, trust to win all the time. So you've got to have a lot of trust as a play caller that your players are going to execute, run the correct read, make the right seam read, make the right hitch adjustment read, make the right juke read, snitch read, and that your quarterback is going to be able to deliver the ball to the correct guy on time, and your pass protection has got to hold up. So you can potentially start to see some of the dry patches, kind of pitfalls, blind spots of this concept. Yeah, it looks great on paper. We're getting everybody out, spread them out, getting 22 personnel and spread out the defense. Okay. And you got to know where the blind spots are. That's all I'm saying. Regardless, it's a cool play. It's everywhere in the league, so it's important to kind of understand it because you'll see it many different games, many different teams, many different organizations, many different levels of football. Hopefully you have a deeper understanding of it, feel like you could go out there, play it, coach it, teach it, enjoy it a little bit better. Regardless, thank you so much for hanging to the end. I will see you next time. Have a good one.